So Shadow of Mordor is a third-person open-world action sandbox game, and it's set entirely inside Mordor, between the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. So it's a new story in the lore here, and it begins after Sauron's defeat in Dol Guldur at the end of The Hobbit, and he returns to Mordor. Now, at this point in history, he's been gone for thousands of years, so Mordor's had a chance to kind of settle and become a little more peaceful, and the Rangers that Gondor stationed there to guard it from his defeat in the last alliance of elves and men, they've actually kind of dwindled down to a skeleton crew. So where you begin is you're Talion, this ranger of the Black Gates there, who's stationed there to guard against Sauron's return, but without much forces left, when Sauron comes back, they're unprepared for that power, and they get annihilated. Talion's killed, his family, everybody. And then he's resurrected by this spirit of vengeance who's also awakened by Sauron's return. He's got this ancient grudge against Sauron and gives you the power to come back from the dead and pursue your vengeance into Mordor.
The Nemesis system creates personal interactions with your unique enemies. Every enemy will remember their encounters with you.
Yeah, memories, it's an important theme too, honestly. You know, the Nemesis system is kind of our key innovation here, like trying to bring something new to the genre, and the biggest way that kind of manifests is, you know, every enemy in the world, all the generic grunts, they all have this potential. Unlike most other games, they have this potential in the Nemesis system to remember you, to grow and build a relationship, and over the course of the game, they'll speak to what you've done with them before. We've got this massive amount of content to support all the possible ways you could have interacted with them. So by the end, you've got this kind of authentic villain who remembers you running away from him or running away from you, or, you know, even if you kill them, classic way villains get created, right, is they die, or so you think. And then they come back and they're scarred by it and they hate you all the more for it. And so those guys will always kind of carry that with them, and it really makes every playthrough completely different, because you're never going to get the same guys with the same personalities and same relationship and history twice. So like, even if you play, not only between you and your friends, but if you play a second time, you'll have a completely new story unfolding because of the nature of that dynamic storytelling that's building through the enemies and their memories.
This game has been compared with Assassin's Creed when you first announced it, and you must get sick and tired of the comparison. But can you please explain and motivate why it's different, and maybe why it's also a bit similar?
You know, it's a good shortcut to try and use comparison games to draw, you know, some kind of analogies between things. But and of course the team. We're developers, we make games, we love games, we play a lot of games. So everything we play and love is going to sneak its way in somehow as an influence on us, just like movies we watch and books we read, you know. That's all going to come in there. And you know, we do want the controls to be very pick up and play and to be familiar to people, but there's so much unique going on here. Not only the Nemesis system, which is a pretty big deal, it separates the feeling moment to moment of the game, but it's a very open sandbox as well. There's so much room for experimentation and improvisation in how you play. When people get their hands on it, we're very confident they feel what a unique experience it is, even if it has some similarities. And we've been really actually kind of pleased to see the articles coming out after the hands-on experiences people are having, saying, we thought maybe this looked like some other games, but turns out it really is its own thing. It feels like its own thing. For the combat in Shadow of Mordor, we started with, there's melee, kind of the brawling stuff that we looked at our WB brethren in Arkham. They're just like the best out there for third-person melee combat. We used that as a kind of a starting point and jumped off from there to bring our flavor to it with the Wraith, the dual character and those kind of supernatural powers there. But that's just one kind of slice of the combat. You've also got range mode that you can mix in at any moment, and also really helps take advantage of the environment, releasing animals from cages, dropping flies and fires, igniting. There's so much that the environment kind of plays into the sandbox that the moment-to-moment combat can really kind of come alive because of the dynamic, sort of surprising elements that pop out of the world around you too. And then of course there's stealth, that stealth attacks and gameplay you can mix and match in there as well. So there's a huge amount of diversity and choice and sort of improvisational freedom we give people to how they play in any given combat encounter. So with such an open world, we've really tried to stay true to letting people play how they want to play and give them lots of opportunities to kind of enrich the story through all kinds of different means. Through exploration, the collectibles will have stories that kind of tie it back to the lore, tie it to the story missions you're going on, side missions. These all kind of feed into your overall story that you're telling. And of course the nemesis system is constantly kind of dynamically building these emergent stories with the enemies. So we really want to let it be open-ended. I mean, to that effect, we worked with Christian Canamessa, who's the lead writer and designer on Red Dead Redemption, and he wrote the story for our game. And so our kind of main missions very much have that Red Dead structure. Even the main story is non-linear. You can go off in several different directions. There's branches going at all times. So, what we see in playtests when people come in from the outside and play it for the first time is if we set them down at the beginning of the game and let them go, they really will explore the sandbox for many hours before they go back and even hit the next story mission that we thought maybe they would go to. Initially we thought maybe they'll learn this mechanic on this mission in half an hour in, and they're getting there 4 or 5 hours later because they just get lost in the sandbox. But it doesn't break down. I mean, it holds up and it sort of layers in the story in different ways for people. So it's fun to see that emergent narrative build itself differently for each person who plays it in different orders. Shadow of Mordor is coming out on October 7th on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC.